Hey there, Start here. Back again to do a budget clear of Raxalotl, the Amphibian of Doom. All right. I tried out a few different team compositions, trying to figure out how I could do this with my EX+0 Esther. And morale's a huge issue in this fight, so it needs to be cleared pretty quickly because this boss will just bury you in morale if you don't have units there to basically boost your morale. If you don't have a lot of morale fill every turn, it's something you got to do pretty quickly. And so we can get it done with Esther as long as she has some help from her good friend Starlight, Elena. Starlight Elena has been a really, she's seen a resurgence in the game since her intrinsic ability came out, which really, really boosted her power. She's become a very, very strong unit and doesn't rely on morale at all to do her damage. She just comes right out of the gate hitting hard, and so she's going to help us out on this one. So let's go with the team. Let's talk about the team here. So we've got Phasey as our mag tank. You do want a magic tank for this fight with a fair amount of bulk. You see she's got 3,000 spirit, over 30,000 HP. That's plenty for tanking the non-elemental magic damage that's going to be incoming, but there's also some elemental magic, and it's good to be able to just completely negate that if you can. And to do that, you need at least 200% water and earth, because if you're going to go longer than 4 turns, you will get a 100% imperil to those 2 elements. And so having 200% or more just means you don't have to worry about maintaining buffs on those elements, and all of that elemental damage will be completely resisted. And then all you have to worry about is just the bulk. And this is why Phasey's really good, because she comes with a lot of innate resistances, especially water resistance. So hitting water resistance is very easy. And then to get the earth resistance, you put an earth Esper on her. You saw I put Golem on her. Spring Basket's great because it's got 50%. That's 7-star Sylvie's STMR, 50% earth resist on there. Knight's Metal's got 30% to everything, and then so some pretty basic gear to get that to get those resistances up. It doesn't take a whole lot really. Fairly easy to hit that requirement. All right, Esther here is pretty much my standard EX+0 build. I have thrown in a piece of Magister's gear. Hopefully at this point you've done enough Clash of Wills that you can at least get one piece of gear up to the Magister's upgrade. That should be the first upgrade you do on any piece of Clash of Wills gear, because for a TDH unit like Esther, usually they are stuck at a 5x chain cap. And you want to get them up to a 6x chain cap, and the Magister's gear adds that extra 1x modifier to their chain cap boost, and that's what you want. And so it doesn't matter which piece of gear it is. Maybe you've got the Magister's crown instead of the Magister's regalia. That's fine. Put the Magister's crown on her. Or maybe you decided to go with the Magister's upgrade on one of the rings. Perfect. The rings are awesome as well. Slap one of those on Esther so that she has the chain cap boost, because that's really going to improve her overall damage, especially at EX+0. And then the rest of it's just the killers. I gave her a cheap card. Killers are not easy on this one, not gonna lie. Avian and aquatic are very, very rare in this game. You can craft Bird Killer Plus from the Archeo Avis trial, so maybe you want to craft a few of those. But Aquan Killer is still very, very hard to come by. We will eventually get the Octomammoth trial in the 12 types, and then we can craft Aquan Killer Plus. But until then, we're kind of stuck on the Aquan Killer. So you see, our killers are 275 avian and 175 aquatic, and that's just, on a budget build, that's the best I can do. I will say, if you have it, Ruler of Sea and Sky is by far the best killer materia for this trial. Now this is a limited materia. I mentioned this in a previous video, but it's the best one for this trial because it's got 75% to both avian and aquatics. So if you have it, definitely use it. All right. Runda is here for, of course, for his mitigations on his LB and Super Limit Burst. If you don't have him, please get him. He is a free unit. All the shards are freely available through the Season 4 story, so just get him and get him to EX3 as quickly as you can, because he is such a great unit for budget clears like these. He is just so good, so good. You see fairly cheap gear, not using anything too fantastic. And he doesn't need any kind of elemental resist. He's here just to tank the physical hits. All right, Luis, you know, a fairly modest build. She also has an innate ability, an overclocked cannon, which gives her a lot of static mag, which is really nice, but she didn't really get the same treatment that Starlight Elena did, so she's not as strong of a unit, and she's really just here for the support. She's got a lot of really neat support skills in her kit, especially for the killers. So in here, she's really most important for this skill. It starts out at just a 50% killer for 5 turns, but then as long as you kind of, you know, plan ahead, it will for two turns after the turn you initially cast it. It does an auto cast of 100% Omni Killer. So that includes birds and aquatics. So we'll have 100% killers to birds and aquatics throughout the fight, as long as we maintain that. All right. Otherwise, pretty standard build. Yeah, we'll go back and forth, but she's not here for damage. Rain is honestly just here for his support as well, fire support. He brings the really great fire amp. You notice I've fully upgraded it, and that takes 4 crowns for the master crowns to do that. Don't sweat it if you don't want to spend 4 crowns on this. I don't blame you if you don't. I did it just because I have tons of crowns lying around, and I use Rain a lot for fire teams. So I decided to go ahead and do it. But 2 crowns will still get you to a 50% fire amplification for the whole team, and so that's still very good. So I think that's worth it to do at least 2 crowns to get it up to 50%. I really do think it's worth it for that, but you know, that's just me. Otherwise, that's pretty much all he's here for, is for fire support, fire imbues, fire imperils, yada yada. I did give him the Eye of the Dragon. That's the materia from the Wilk story event. Hopefully you have this, because it is useful for chaining with Esther on turns where I don't want him to Brave Shift, because his Brave Shift is Trance Shift. Don't forget that. If you shift to do his LB with Esther, you cannot go back to his normal form for 2 turns. Keep that in mind. His Brave Shift form, nothing special. He's not doing any damage here. All right. Elena is going to be you know, pretty much carrying half the load on this one, along with Esther. So here's a fairly budget build, nothing too fancy. Hidden Power is the big one here. So this is what gives her all of her oomph, lots of static attack and mag, and then a huge boost to her abilities, her chaining abilities like Gemini Blade. Huge boost there. So definitely equip that if you have her. You notice mine's at EX3, but you don't need to have her at EX3 to get really good results here. An EX1 or EX2 will be really good here, and should still be able to get you through using this strategy. You see, killers are still a big problem here, 125% and 100% aquatic. Yeah, it's not easy getting the killers on this one. But hey, if you have better killers in your gear selection, definitely use them. All right, so let's get in here and let's see how we do this. All right, so the boss is going to start by putting up 5 stacks of Mirage. All right, we don't need to worry about that so much on this turn, because we're just doing a setup turn anyways. Runda's going to start with his LB for mitigations. Phasey's going to do her cover and a Lagoon Shell. This is a very useful skill for this fight, because Lagoon Shell does magic mitigation for the whole team and puts up 100% water and earth buff for the whole team. And that's going to be important because on turn 3, our team is going to have to take a little bit of magic damage, but that's okay. So we're just getting ready for that. All right, Luis is going to go ahead and do Fire Starter to put up the fire field, Diverse Arsenal to get those killers going. power boost, and then heavy firepower for the Fire Imperil. All right, Rain's going to go ahead and set up. We're going to go ahead and do the big fire amp here. All right, so this imbues everybody, just to go over that again. So Blaze Saber adds the fire imbue to everybody. Rising Saber does I think it's a 25% amp, but that lasts for 5 turns, and then this does the big one. All right, because we're going to do 1 burst next turn. So we want to go ahead and have that big amp, because we're going to try and do a fairly decent burst next turn. All right, and then, yeah, Esther and Elena are just going to get, just do some setup skills here. They'll do a little bit of damage on this one. This is really more just about getting rid of those Mirage stacks. So yeah, a little bit of damage, but nothing of much consequence on that one. We're just getting set up. Next turn we should do a healthy chunk of damage, and then we'll do a bigger burst on turn 5, because as long as you hit the boss with one of its weak elements, that's fire, lightning, or light, for the first 4 turns, on turn 5 it will get rid of all of its buffs. And that's the turn we're waiting for to do our biggest burst. But we can go ahead and do 1 here just to go ahead and get started. Start taking off some start taking off some of that HP. All right, triple Gemini. All right, Luis is going to do just the 4 modified gear skills here. This is again just to maintain those killer buffs. Phasey can do some healing, and the elemental buffs, because that's supposed to help with morale on this one. Alright, now when you start this, you want to do Elena and Runda first, because they're going to chain it up together. You want to make sure they get all their chains in before you start Rain and Esther, so that they can take advantage of the fire field, because as soon as Esther's LB goes off, her field will replace the fire field with her LB field. Keep that in mind. So we'll start Elena and Runda first. Make sure they've got all their casts in, and then, yep, there we go. Esther and Rain go. And that's a fairly good chunk of damage. We're like 1/3 of the way through. All right, and that should give you some idea of how this is going to go. There's a little bit of magic damage there. We took 2 of those. So that's Aerial Surge, which is an AoE non-elemental magic attack. You notice we resisted all the elemental damage thanks to Phasey's buffs. Aerial Surge there's a bit of RNG on that one. And the most I've ever seen it, and I've done this several times, the most I've ever seen it is 3 times. I've never seen it 4 times. 4 times would probably kill the team. 3 times, everyone should still survive. But most often it's twice. So that's the most common number of times I've ever seen it, is twice. And everyone should survive it, no problem, thanks to the magic mitigation and because of Runda's mitigations. So speaking of mitigations, Runda's going to go ahead and do his SLB for the better mitts on that one. Phasey is going to do healing and Nereid's Kiss for more magic mitigation. Esther is going to do triple Bolting Slice. Do not use her Magnus ability on this turn. We're saving that for next turn to set up for the big burst on turn 5. Elena's just triple Gemini. Rain is just going to do Blaze Saber and double Rising. We don't want to do the Prominent Saber on this turn, saving that for next one. And then Luis is just going to come in here and do her 4 these 4 skills. Yep, this is all really just to get rid of the Mirage stacks, so that Elena and Esther have cleared the way. Alright, so now we want to try to get as close to 50% without going past 50% on this turn, because we don't want the Mirage stacks to reset. We want, and we don't want the buffs to reset. We want to make sure that we have that wide open turn to really lay out some good damage. All right, so that's pretty close. So on this next turn, we'll just have to make sure we're you know, extra careful. We're not going to do any chaining. We're just going to do a bit of setup. All right, there you go. Phasey taking it all. Definitely make sure you never have Phasey do her provoke. You always want Runda provoking so that he takes all the physical, single target physical damage. All right, now let's see. Phasey is going to put up her cover, and we'll just do some more healing. Yeah, just make sure everyone's good. All right, Luis is going to come back. And again, we're going to do first arsenal, power boost. We'll do incapacitate target for the bigger spirit and the bigger fire and peril. And yeah, that should be fine. Actually, hold on. Let's do diverse arsenal, power boost, incapacitate, and then tactical armor, because that'll do an auto cast next turn. All right. How are we doing? Yep, looking good. All right, Runda. This is important. So on turn 4, Runda needs to do unstoppable protection. You may have noticed I put Lakshmi Esper on him. That is for this particular skill on this particular turn, because the boss will do a single target stop. And unless everybody on your team is already innately nullified to it, then you don't have to worry about it so much. But a couple of our units on the team do not innately have stop resist, so Runda needs to put that up on this turn. All right, Rain is going to just do his Blaze Saber, Rising Saber Prominence, so that we get the bigger buff, bigger fire buff on this one. Now Esther can just do her Magnus, that's all she needs to do. Starlight Elena can honestly just do, we'll just do Polaris, how about that? Well, how about we just have her do one Gemini Blade? We're not going to chain it with Esther, though. Make sure you don't chain. Alright. This will just get us a little closer. There's Motionless Despair. That's the single target stop. Alright, Scarring Despair. I can't remember what that does, but I don't think it's important. The next turn, however, we're going to get Innervating Despair, which is going to totally remove all of our buffs. However, that's all right. We'll be able to manage that, no problem. Now, depending on how strong your units are, you may be able to kill it on this turn. All right. If your Elena is strong enough, if your Esther's strong enough, you may just kill it outright on this turn, and that's great. That's great. My team is not going to be strong enough to do that on this turn, because I purposefully made them a bit weaker so that that wouldn't happen. All right, Luis is just going to do 3 shieldings and a nano machine. This is honestly just for chaining, for building that chain up for Elena as quickly as possible. She's not going to do any appreciable damage on this one. All right, so we should be all set up and ready to go. All right, that was a pretty good one. All right, so we'll just do some sonar healing and deep sea sorcery. All right, so we're pretty close to finishing this one off. Now, because we're going to get the Innervating Despair, there it is, Innervating Despair. So you see that did not only did that remove all of our buffs, it also did an NP drain. Really sucks. And so what this means is we need a turn to set up, basically. But that's all right. Runda's SLB is ready. All right. Magic Cover, Lagoon Shell. Perfect timing. All right. Luis is going to do fire. Ooh, we're going to shift back. Fire Starter. Diverse Arsenal. Oh, she can't do that. All right. Just do Fire Starter then. All right. Rain is just going to do Extreme Blade for a bigger fire, Imperil, Energizing Bunny, and Elena can just do, she can just do Gemini Blade. Alright, so we've gotten rid of all the all right. So there we go. All right, we should have, yeah, shouldn't have any trouble surviving through this. Take a few hits, not a big deal. All right, thanks to Runda's mitigations. All right, so now Rain can shift back. He can put fire on everybody again. And yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, as long as he can get both of those skills in there. All right, now what Runda's gonna do is he's gonna help us out with our MP woes. So just have him do a normal attack. His normal attack gives everybody 100 MP. All right, now there's a chance we'll finish it on this one. But if you don't worry, you'll finish it next turn. All right. And Luis, just do modified gear. Yep, just do all these 4. Phase can just heal, and then do marine wall for a big barrier. This is just to make sure everyone survives. Like I said, you might finish it on this turn, but you might not. Let's find out. If you don't, or if I do kill on this turn, but you don't when you're trying to repeat this strategy, then all you'll have to do is just have Esther do her LB the following turn to finish it off. Yep, that'll finish it. All right, too easy. All right, so yeah, that's you know, that's a fairly budget way to take down this trial. Yeah, hopefully this is helpful to you. If you're still struggling with this one, trying to get up to level 99, hopefully this little budget guide will help you. Let's see. Yeah, so Elena and Esther pretty much sharing the load on that one. Everybody else is just there for support. Pretty awesome. And yeah, I will be working now. Now that I've got all my initial clears out of the way, the budget video, I'll start working on my rank 1 guide, and I will share that with you guys as soon as I get it done. So thank you so much for watching and for supporting me, and I will see you on the other side.